Hello and welcome to Midnight Readings. Today we'll be reading The Zebra's Verse, written by Between Lines. Hope you enjoy. Zecora smiled softly, her great iron cauldron bubbling before her. Taking a sniff of the swirling yellow fumes, she rubbed her nose and trotted over to her shelves. Upon them rows and rows of dried plants sat bottled and ground, awaiting her selection. She plucked a bottle from the brightest crimson and carefully sprinkled a few dashes into the boiling mixture. At that moment a knock on the door caused her to jump and drop the entire bottle within. "Celestia, spare me with her horn," she muttered under her breath before putting on a smile and answering the door. "Twilight, my friend, what brings you this morn?" "Oh, hello, Zecora. I'm not interrupting anything, am I?" Twilight glanced cautiously, unable to miss the rolling mess within the cauldron. "Nothing that needs my attention any more," Zecora sighed, waving Twilight inside as she grabbed a pot holder to help her handle the cauldron. "Tell me, what brings you today to my door?" "Oh, well, right." Twilight gave a sniff of the cauldron, wincing as it is now rancid stench stung her nose. "I actually had some questions about your homeland." "Oh, Baltimore? A curious query. Well, if you've questions, you needn't tarry." Zecora bruised herself, emptying out the cauldron outside, using the opportunity to conceal her smirk. "But Baltimore?" Twilight floundered, glancing around as though seeing a book to consult. "That I was a native of zebra soil?" Zecora chuckled, as she returned, stashing the cauldron and receiving a teapot. "That in savannas I walked and did daily toil?" "Well, yes." Twilight continued to flush crimson, her eyes settling around her hooves. "I guess that was kind of presumptuous of me." "Perhaps it was, but you needn't fret. Your intuition isn't wrong yet." She smiled as Twilight stared in confusion, watching as she puzzled it out. "Wait, you mean you're not from Baltimore?" Twilight tilted her head, scratching at it. "Indeed I am not. You are correct. Now why would I lie? What cause do you detect?" She continued to watch as Twilight's expression became one of intense concentration. "Because..." Twilight rubbed her chin, her eyes focused somewhere in the infinite distance. A moment later she popped up in excitement. "Oh, it wasn't smart of me to assume that you were a foreigner." "Yes, Twilight. Once more we speak of the book and cover. I might have taken offense if I were some other." Smiling, Zecora stood up and returned to her shelves. "Now, enough about lessons in class. You had a question you were wishing to ask." "Oh, yes." Twilight brandished instantly faded, replaced with a cheerful enthusiasm. "I was reading a book about Shemestic traditions and, well," she flashed her horn, conjuring a hefty tone out of the ether. "Maybe I was just consulting the wrong literature, but I can't find anything about rhyming in them." "Oh, that is no mistake. Your book is right. You'll find no rhymes, try as you might." As she spoke, her expression grew sad, almost wistful, and she found herself hesitating beside the tea. "My reasons are mine, and mine alone. A method, though, which I have been forced to atone." "Atone?" Twilight blanched, immediately banishing her book back to whence it came. "I'm sorry, I had no idea." No, it's quite all right. I suppose some pony would ask, try as I might." She finally selected a vial off her shelf, sprinkling dark green leaves within a loose tea strainer. "Would you care for some tea? I was planning on kale. If you're willing to sit, I can tell you the tale." "Really?" I'm not overstepping my bounds. I'd really like to learn more about you." Twilight glanced at the door and almost rose, but found Zecora's hoof on her withers. "No. Please, you're welcome to stay. It's a tale I should tell, if you'll hear what I say." She set the tea sieved into the pot and sat across from Twilight. "Well, if you want to tell it, then of course I'll listen." Twilight quickly conjured a notebook into existence, then thought better of it and banished it back. "Sorry." "Fear not, my friend. It's habit, I know. They do not lie hard, it goes to show." Nodding solemn, she took a deep breath. "My tale begins in my home of old, of which I admit I've little told. 'Tis a land of grass and sand and sun, of much hard work and not much fun. She smiled for a moment wistfully. Still, it was home, and what I know is this, for good or for bad, this is a place I miss. Sakura paused to pour them both tea, Twilight still listening intently. As a filly, I was no shaman, of course. I was brash and sly, but worst of all was my voice. My tongue was pure silver and sharp as a blade. By the time I was a mare, oh, enemies I'd made. Really? I mean... Twilight floundered for a moment. That doesn't seem anything like you. Is that so? Am I not clever and smart? Were I to try, would my jabs not all smart? Leaving Twilight to mull that over, she stood to fetch cups for both of them, filling each with pale green brew. Yes, I suppose I could see that, but it seems so unlike you. You're probably one of the kindest ponies I know. Twilight carefully accepted her cup and slowly took a sip. Indeed, it's true, for the lessons I've learned. My kindness is not a gift, but something I've earned. She took a sip of her own, then continued. As I was saying, I was a terrible friend. My foes found themselves ever shamed and demeaned. Even the chieftain had fear of my wit, for my words were like arrows, and my mark would hit. I cared not for matters of justice and fair play, only for the next fool to get in my way. She grew silent, but just as Twilight began to move, she resumed. One day when I was seeking out my next prey, it happened a shaman crossed over my way. I heckled her dress, bemoaned her gant, I even for shame criticized her weight. Oddly, Sakura began to smile, but for my slights she did not care. To her they were nothing but so much as hot air. Of course her indifference filled me with hate, and my endless jabbing I refused to abate. An entire week I spent hurtling hurts, even spent nights perched outside her yurt. When my voice had grown hoarse, and yet still I railed, she turned to me, her smile showing I'd failed. She said, Child, can't you see you're wasting your time? Perhaps you'd learn better speaking in rhyme. So you took her advice? Twilight hazarded. Took not so much, but received most yes, for it seemed she placed me under quite a cruel jest. When I next opened my mouth to talk, I found I could not but squawk. After some dismay, I discovered in time that I could only speak if my words were in rhyme. Sakura's expression grew pained. It was a harrowing lesson, and one I learned fast. Robbed of free speech, my foes' fears soon passed. Now they could torment me with fearless abandon, while I could barely mutter how much that I damned them. That's horrible! Twilight cried. How could you just curse someone like that? Were you not listening? It was brought on myself. If not for her, I'd have lived yet in ill health. Laid low at last, I finally had to consider the effect of my words, and what harm they brought hither. In time I learned to speak well once more, this time more carefully, of whose egos I'd score. From there my life changed sharply its path, choosing insight over my youth's callous wrath. Thus grown, I found the shaman again, and asked her to teach me, as she had back then. Sakura smiled and finally set down her tea, and that is the tale of my Optim one-time curse, the tale of the zebra and her patterns of verse. Wow, so you mean to say you must speak in verse even to this day? Twilight blinked and then blushed. That's really infectious. No, Twilight, rest assured, my curse is gone, its weight endured. She shook her head. This manner of speech is a gesture towards the ones who taught me to watch my words. Twilight could only sit in quiet contemplation. That's really wasn't what I was expecting. Life rarely is, my young friend, but if you'll excuse me, I've matters to attend. She stood and offered her hoof to Twilight. Another day I'll tell you of home, but time is out when it comes to my own. Oh, of course, I have things I should be doing as well, Twilight smiled, and faltered a moment, hugged Sakura. And thank you for sharing this with me. Sakura started a moment, then returned the hug. Of course, it was a pleasure as well. I'm glad for my friends and my stories to tell. That was The Zebra's Verse, written by Between the Lines. I like Sakura. She's funny and smart, though I have a feeling I'm going to be speaking in rhythm at least. Until next time, I shall see you all. Stay brony, my friends.